Hello everybody, and welcome back to another short mini-series of Process Pat. This week we're going to talk about effective change agents. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm mostly speaking to the Scrum Masters, the RTEs, the Agile coaches that exist out there in the ether, but a change agent can be anybody. It can be an engineer, it can be a engineering manager, it could be an executive. It could literally be anybody in the company that is able to identify a problem, develop the right ecosystem for the change, and then go on to implement that change, making the team, the enterprise, the organization better as a whole because of that change. And there are effective and ineffective ways to go about driving change at a company, and I'm going to talk through a few ways that you can make yourself a more effective change agent as a whole. So really, when I'm talking about change agents, there are three different types that I see out there. There are the passive changer, there's the aggressive changer, and then there's the experienced changer. And each one of these types of change agents have their pros and cons. Some are more effective than others. And then there are obviously the fourth category could be the ineffective change agents that are out there. That don't really look to drive change or to solve complex problems. They are okay with the status quo. They don't really care about getting better. I'm going to dive deep into each one of these here, talking first about the passive change agent. So you'll probably notice these people within the company. They may be in a position to drive change, but they tend to be okay with waiting for an opportunity to present itself before starting to drive that change. And what do I mean by that? I mean that instead of being proactive in solving for problems that they know exist, they will wait and drag out the ability to drive change to make that thing better until the opportunity is right for them, because they haven't taken proactive measures that will set them up for success to actually move the needle in a positive way. So your passive change agents will sit, they will wait, and they will be more reactive rather than proactive in their ability to drive change for your team or your org or your enterprise. Second category is your aggressive change agents. These are the types of people, they may be new to a team, and the first thing they do right out of the gate is just start going after things that they perceive as problems. Now, the problem with this approach is that sometimes the aggressive change agent will lose the trust of the team because they didn't take the opportunity to understand why things are done that way in the first place. So them being an aggressor, they don't fully understand why things are done, and they make a lot of assumptions that could be wrong, that will make it hard for them to drive the right change for their team or their organization. So there is a time and place to be an aggressive change agent, but it's few and far between. You have to pick when you need to be an aggressive change agent in order to get things over the line. The third is the experienced change agent, and this is somebody that leverages their experience over time in failing and succeeding driving change. They learn from those situations, and they're able to identify the right time to drive the change, develop the right sort of stakeholders and relationships with the team, make sure that they have the right allies, and then drive change in an efficient, effective, and frictionless way that just makes it look easy. And these are the ones that we should all strive to be. We should all strive to develop, based on your own experience, your own successes and failures. It'll help to mold you into an effective change agent that will help to drive the most meaningful change for your teams and your organizations. So, how are you able to become an experienced change agent, and what should you do if you want to be one? I'm going to give you just a quick example. This is not cookie cutter. This doesn't fit for every scenario, but just something to think about here. Here's kind of your 30, 60, 90 days. And the scenario here is that you are a new person to a team or to an organization. Maybe you're a new executive, a new leader at the company. And these are some of the things that you can think of to develop your own strategy to drive positive change. And it's kind of your 30, 60, 90 days. Sometimes this will be longer. Sometimes it'll be shorter and expedited. But just thinking about a phased sort of approach and what you have to do in order to set yourself up for success when driving change, you can use this sort of model if you want to. So in the first 30 days, the do's are you want to develop relationships with your team, within your direct team that you influence day to day that you'll be working with all the time. You want to learn how the team works today, and you want to learn why they work this way. Teams typically don't do the wrong thing just because they want to do the wrong thing. They do it because there are impediments that prevent them or have prevented them in the past from changing. And so it's important to understand why things are the way they are today before you go and drive change, so that you're able to influence it for the better. The don't develop enemies early on. Don't criticize the team. And what I mean by that is, hey, you're not doing this right. You're not doing it like this. It should be like this. Coming out of the gate with people that you don't know and starting to criticize right away will make it more difficult for you to drive longer term change. And that leads me to the third one here, which is don't drive immediate change. You have to develop relationships. You have to understand why and how they work today, so that you don't go out there and drive a change that has unintended consequences or really doesn't develop the right outcomes that you want to achieve through the delivery of that change. And you get into the second phase, or maybe the next 60 days, the do's are to develop leadership relationships. So look beyond your team or your direct area of influence and look to develop relationships with your leadership. And you can do this in the first 30 days as well. But the concept is that you're expanding beyond just your direct team. Start to develop a strategy based off of what you learned by studying how they work today and why they work the way they do. Start to develop allies across the organization in various roles so that you can set yourself up for success in the future when you look to start driving positive change. And then start to drive small change. Don't try to boil the ocean right away. Maybe there's some low-hanging fruit that you can latch onto and that you can change immediately, and that may have some effects, some very positive effects on the team. And you start to gain trust, and the team understands that you are doing things for the right reason, and they will be more susceptible to listening to you when you want to drive larger, more challenging change. And then don't forget about the people when you are starting to do some of these things in the second phase. Don't drive change without developing those relationships. You want people on your side. Change is hard. The human element is always the hardest thing of any part of any organization or any enterprise, and you need those relationships. Don't try to go big without any small wins. So don't try to drive change too early. It'll make it much more difficult longer term for you. And then when you get into the third phase of the 90 days, develop cross-functional relationships. So again, looking even further beyond your team. Develop small wins for larger success, or leverage your small wins for larger success. So the team will start to trust you and your ability to deliver small, and you don't break that trust, and then they trust you to start driving change at a higher level. Align teams to longer term strategy. So you've developed your strategy before, now you're starting to socialize it and get buy-in. And then leverage your ally buy-in to drive larger scale change according to the strategy that you've rolled out and you've started to get buy-in from. And what you want to try to avoid: don't change without a solid foundation. Sometimes it'll take longer than 30, 60, or 90 days to develop those relationships and to understand the inner workings of the complex organization that you now support. Don't get frustrated and give up. And don't forget to develop other change agents to help drive the changes in the outcomes that you want to achieve for your organization. You as a change agent in and of yourself will have limits to the amount of change that you can drive. If you're doing this right, you're developing change agents in various roles across the organization or across the enterprise that will also become change agents and help you to deliver that change in much more efficient ways, so that you're reaching the outcomes that you expect. So, you want to become an effective change leader, you want to develop effective change agents, and you want to adopt the continuous improvement mindset. And a lot of this is through relationship building, learning, listening, having fun with your teams, achieving small wins that will build to larger successful change into the future, and making sure that overall you're a team player, you're measuring the success that you are having, and that will lead to larger outcomes into the future. So anyways, thank you everybody. I appreciate it. My message for you today is go on and change, but make sure that you are changing with intent. You're leveraging your past experience for future gain. You're learning from your failures, you're learning from your successes, and you are driving change. You're developing relationships, and you are making the most out of your opportunity to make your teams, your organization, your enterprise a better place to work. Thank you everybody. I appreciate the time today. Please make sure that you are liking and subscribing, and I will talk to you all next week. Thanks everybody. Bye.